Right. All good?
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Yep, fantastic.
Good. Hopefully people can hear okay and people can see okay. Welcome this morning. We are talking about the general election and talking about the effect on construction and civil engineering in the United Kingdom. First, can I just introduce to my right, Zara Lamont. Zara, do you want to just say a few words so that everybody know who you are?
Good morning, everyone. This is a bit of a surreal experience, sitting talking to the screen, but that's the way life moves on. I'm Performance Improvement Director for Carillion, and I'm currently working in our telecoms business. I'm also Vice President of the Institute of Civil Engineers. And I suppose best practice innovation and change is very much, when I'm a civil engineer at heart, what I am primarily focused on these days is change and how the industry needs to change to modernise.
Excellent. Thank you, Zara. Bill, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine, Elvin. Thank you.
How are you, my friend? Are you well?
I'm very well indeed, thank you, and just enjoying the lovely weather up here. It always rains in Scotland, unfortunately.
Bill,
I'll tell you
would you guys have just to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, of course. My name is Bill McBride. I'm managing director of a construction company in Scotland, founded in 1873. We basically work throughout United Kingdom, Europe, North America, and the Middle East. I also chair the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre, which is an initiative set up over a period of time with a number of businesses, life science, and we managed to get construction to be one of those key businesses for the government. And our aim is basically to use innovative thinking, innovative processes, and also different ways of building things to look at construction, not in a year's time, but what it will be like in 5 or 10 years' time. I'm also involved in a number of government agencies, mainly concerned with the skill shortages in construction that we see coming, and a particular reference of bringing more and more younger people into our construction market, UK, which is something I feel pretty strong on. And additionally, a couple of boards which are to do with creating greater gender equality in construction, which again I feel is particularly important. So all in all, we're in a situation of how do we maximise the considerable skills which I believe exist in UK construction, but how do we leverage those skills to get economic impact for the good of both the industry but for the country as a whole. That's very much my focus, guys.
Thank you, Bill. Very good indeed. And hopefully, after Bill, we should have Rico. Rico, are you there, my friend?
I am here indeed, yes, I am.
Rico, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Can't complain. It's actually beautifully sunny in the south, so sorry about that, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Nico.
So my role is policy advisor for the National Federation of Builders. We represent small and medium-sized constructors, and we've been around for 120 years. 121, I think, actually. But my role is really to focus on diversifying the market, because, as Bill just said there, we need to train more people into the industry. We need to enable that part of the industry, but the only way we can do that is to have capacity. And SMEs have always been the classic house builders and constructors. They get local and regional projects off the ground. So actually, because we've lost so much capacity of the SME trade in the industry, the only way we can really tackle the skills crisis, from my perspective, having worked as a teacher as well in many industries, is to get those employing businesses back. And it's not just the one-off jobs, it's the long-term jobs. So at the NFB, although we want to get as many of our constructors doing work, actually it's tackling the wider problems, and whether that's in house building, getting more housing associations to build through removing the cap for housing associations, for local authority funding, or whether it's getting more community land trust building or cooperative housing. We look at things from a holistic point of view. How do we get the whole industry moving? So that's my job. Rant a lot about that and get government to listen.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend. we've got, just one more time, Zara to my right here in London. We've got Gil McBride in Scotland. Rico Bosowitz. Rico, where are you actually in the world today? This is a good point.
Today I am in Gatwick.
In Gatwick?
I am, yeah. So southerly.
Good man. Thank you. To get the ball rolling, just really a question to all our panelists. Nice simple question to get it started is that, did you believe that this would be the result? We had a hung parliament and possibly not what Theresa May expected. It was all right, so we'll just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
What was your expectation?
If I was a betting woman, which I'm not, I would not have put my money on a home parliament at all. Having said that, one thing that we should all have learned from the recent elections, both here and abroad, is nothing is ever for certain whenever you go to the polls. And it was a risk. I can understand why she took that risk, but if anything, it's put more uncertainty, where she was looking for clarity and stability to be able to move forward with a strong mandate. It's just thrown everything back up into the air again. And it's actually had the reverse effect. But having said that, we are where we are, and we shouldn't be making a crisis out of a drama. Yeah, it is. I was very much the same with Brexit. I remember waking up in the morning and getting the iPad on to find out which vote to leave, and I was thinking, well, I didn't see that one coming. But we are where we are, and we can talk ourselves into a very bad situation, or we can take it as a positive and say, right, well, instead of having the very hard Brexit line, which frightened a lot of people, it looks as though it potentially could be a much softer Brexit. So that should be a positive. But what we can't afford is a hiatus.
No.
We have to make decisions, and we have to get the ball rolling as quickly as possible, because if you just from a construction perspective, the projects that we will be bidding now, we will be delivering potentially in 2 years' time. By that stage, we will be out, but the uncertainty around labour, material costs for import, what does that mean with regards the logistics of getting them in? So are there any tariffs, etc., that will have to be paid? All those things add uncertainty in the construction industry. So we need to get a clear indication of the direction of travel as soon as possible.
Thanks, that was a clear indication of travel.
Yep.
Love that stuff. Rico Bosowitz, can you hear us, sir?
I can, and I wasn't surprised there was a hung parliament at all. And in fact, I got a phone call from my PR assistant moments after the first pollings came in to say, congratulations, you called it right. So, I mean, for me, I think there's been a real issue in the way we discuss policy. And if we just simply look at the two manifestos, one obviously promises diversity in the marketplace for housing, and the other one promises a lot of socially affordable homes. And I think that split actually was going to be replicated around the country, and I think we saw that, and especially with the youth vote. I'm the eldest of quite a large family, so all of my younger family members were saying, oh yeah, we're going to vote Labour. So actually it didn't really surprise me too much there was a hung parliament. Where we go from here is quite another matter, but I think it's useful to point out that all the manifestos did actually concentrate on quite important points, and that's improving the local employment opportunities. And actually, if we can start doing that, with 2 years to Brexit, if you look at a lot of construction and apprenticeships, 2 years is about the time we need to get those people trained. And okay, you might not get to the perfect standard, but actually we can do a lot right now by really pushing through the right skills opportunities. And that might mean working with people from abroad as well. But actually, it means that getting our local employers to start training and working with these people and giving them avenues for employment. And I think with T-levels being supported, cross-party, I think that's really, really positive. So actually, the direction of change shouldn't hamper us too much, even though perhaps at this point we haven't got enough consistency and we haven't got enough certainty.
Excellent, thank you very much. We definitely don't have enough consistency. Bill, can you hear us from sunny Scotland?
Yes, how can you find? Yeah, from my perspective, I was quite surprised. I have to be honest with you. I was a bit like Zara said. I was also surprised with the Brexit thing. I have a situation whereby speaking to they're saying, well, yeah, we thought there was a potential of this happening. I didn't. I have to be honest with you. To me, it's the outcome is reflective of how fast changing the world is just now, and how the situation is, that uncertainty in most things of life is in essence the new reality. Because there is so much information, because people's idea can be disseminated in a much more a faster way, and via social media and other things, particularly with young people, the fact that margins of error have become significant in polling means that I suppose nothing really should be an enormous surprise to us anymore. Going back 20, 30 years, for someone to close the gap Mr. Corbyn closed, or to the extent that he closed it, is quite significant. Rico, you called it right. I'm probably still from that old-fashioned background. I'm still getting my head around the fact things quickly, and I think where that's important element from the construction industry is that those businesses that will continue to grow and be successful will in essence be those that embrace that level of uncertainty. Is that the business forward, you either embrace uncertainty as something that you can drive your business forward with, you act like a victim to it, and if you act like a victim to it, then that will lead to more difficult types companies. So yeah, I was quite surprised by it, but I have to say to you that the surprise quickly disseminated into rationalising what happened, rationalising how it impacted on our own industry, and then started plans for how to move forward in the best possible way. Because unfortunately, you either come at it from the point of view that you're going to embrace or you're just going to react to it all the time. And if you're reacting to it all the time, it can be hard to manage. You have to be a bit proactive to these things, in my view. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much indeed. Excellent. Okay, team. So we've got there was a level of surprise, but what we're basically saying is that we've got to get a direction, and basically we've got to get on with it. Now, another stupid question is that if you had the possibility of a magic wand, what would you want to happen in the first, or shall I say, the next 2 months? How would we help, or how could the government help with stabilising and getting direction? Anyone would like to go first on that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to go if you want. This is Bill in Glasgow. I think the answer to the question in the next couple of months in construction, in my perception, is quite a fragmented marketplace. One of the things that we do not do in construction is I don't think we speak as one voice enough. There are a number of organisations that try extremely hard to do it, but the reality is it's a remarkably fragmented industry. And the problem is that I've been involved in a number of industries over the years. Construction is an industry where the skill set within construction and experience within construction, not only builders and supply chain, but architects and engineers. I cannot think of a more under-leveraged marketplace in construction. The output that is produced is so non-reflective of the skill set that exists. If I had the magic wand, to use your analogy, Elvin, my magic wand would be to try to have industry, construction industry, throughout the speak in a coherent, unified way to government with one voice, that government can basically lead off that voice speaking for industry as a whole, not necessarily focusing only on the micro issues, which are remarkably important, but also the bigger strategic role for what is the future of our construction industry as we move forward. So if I had my magic wand, I would like a construction could engage with government on a non-fragmented basis.
On a non-fragmented basis.
And
Laura,
I think if I had a magic wand, I would probably use it very differently, as in, I would like to engage the public more in actually the value add that construction brings to their everyday lives, to make them, or to help them understand how from they get up in the morning to they go back to bed at night, construction touches every aspect of what we do. To engage in a way that helps parents, grandparents, teachers, and kids understand that actually what a great industry we have. Lots of people go into medicine because they want to change the world. But how many kids actually realise that engineers have saved more lives than doctors because of sanitation? And whenever you talk to them in facts like that, they suddenly realise what a great industry this is. And I think as an industry, we have done ourselves a disservice because we haven't sold that message correctly. Going into construction gives you a ticket to travel the world. How many industries or sectors give you that sort of opportunity? And the vast range of skills that are needed within construction. Again, you talk to most kids, you talk to most parents. Construction is almost seen as, well, if you can't do anything else, you can go into construction. And I remember a few years ago working in a prison and talking to a prison officer. Well, he was actually the head governor. And he was saying that, about skills that they were teaching the guys, basic English, maths and things like that in prison. And he said, I keep telling them, unless they get a qualification, they end up working on a construction site. And I was thinking, what's wrong with that? So it's this thing of, actually, if we could engage the public and the young people in the way that Jeremy Corbyn did in the election, to understand how their transportation, their schools, their health service, their housing, their sanitation, their energy, everything relies on the construction industry. Now, wouldn't that be a powerful?
Yeah, that's excellent. Rico, can you hear us? Hopefully.
I can hear you perfectly, and I would agree with both the points, and I would especially because I've been lucky enough to have quite a varied career. So I've worked in mental health and physical health. I've been a teacher. I've delivered projects to tackle antisocial behaviour, isolation, loneliness in older people. I've had quite a varied career. And the one thing I've always noticed, is one of the reasons I took this job actually a few years ago, is construction is at the root of everything. And it really, really is. Whether you need a new facility for your local community, who builds that? How do you get it built? How do you find the funding for it? All this construction itself, whether you want to vary your career opportunities, construction is the answer. There are so many transferable jobs a ludicrous amount. So it's getting that message over to parents. But actually, this is a really big thing that government needs to do, is if they're able to depoliticize the construction process and really understand that it creates some sort of flow chart that shows people how valuable it is in every part of your industry. I've just moved to the south and the Midlands, and I will say I wasn't too. Brexit was a bit of a surprise, but not that much of a surprise because, up north in the Midlands and further up north, I've been in Sheffield for a while. We do feel that perhaps the economy hasn't quite kept up with us, and it's things like your infrastructure, like your schools, like your local opportunities, especially with constructors who, do employ long term, especially if they're local. So it's actually combining all this together and understanding the true value on our economy. And I think that post-Brexit, it's one of the reasons I mentioned training up enough people before we Brexit, because it will be vital that we have enough capacity within the industry, and that will actually help us to promote the industry. And if we look at something like, I wrote an article a few weeks ago about drones. Now we look at drones. Drones have been used by the construction sector now to survey sites, but it's not just drones, it's the architects building the software inside them who survey the landscape. It's the engineers that build the drones. It's the people that sell them. It's brand new industries created because of a need of construction. We see the same in renewable energy. We see the same in biodiversity. Construction creates careers, and it's actually up to government to identify where those careers can be drafted from and supported. And I think that's going to be the vital thing that we need to do in the next couple of years. And it's something really, really positive that can come out of the conversations we have about Brexit.
Excellent. You just touched on all three touched on infrastructure. So a question, if it's okay with Zara to lead this one, is we have a hung parliament and we have awaiting quite a massive infrastructure programme. The question is, we have a hung parliament, what impact will that have, do we think, on the awaited infrastructure programme?
I think you should probably ask people that one, because his crystal ball is obviously much better than the rest of ours. I think that is, if I was a betting woman, I'd say energy, we cannot afford to delay or disrupt our spend on energy, because again, I think that is something that UK PLC or UK public do not understand how fragile our energy provision is in this country. We see lights going out in other parts of the world, third world countries, etc., where they accept it as the norm. Unless we actually do something radical here, that will become our norm as well. So we should not just disrupt or delay the spend on that. Again, HS2, the rail side of things, I think there's cross-party support for that. Whether you think the business case is it about time? For me, it's never been about time. I think it's about economic improvement, and it's what you do on that HS2 corridor, and then giving you the links express going forward. It's not about shaving 10 minutes of the time to London. Again, I think we have an aging rail infrastructure in this country, and we need to improve it, and we just need to get on and invest in it. The area where I think potentially is Heathrow Gatwick, another runway, not another runway, etc. I don't know about everybody else, but I am bored. It's probably the right word with the just make a decision and move on. And I think that is the biggest thing I would ask from our politicians going forward is be clear, be decisive, and then get on with it. We dither too long. You cannot please all of the people all of the time.
Okay.
And we have a certain amount of money to spend, get on, invest, and the more we invest in our infrastructure now, the better payback and the quicker the payback.
Superb. So, Bill, a version
Yes.
of Ignorance north of the border. So we talk about energy, close speed to and the rail industry, and the long debate, gone a bit longer, so I like a bit quicker. Heathrow or Gatwick to be expanded. Bill, what was your version of events north of what up there in Scotland?
Well, I think you know, from a Scottish perspective, my take all that improves communication and transit routes for my own business, both into North America and Europe. We also have the slight issue in Scotland that we don't have the same transport infrastructure that you will have in the south. So business can be a little bit more difficult from our point of view from that perspective. I do believe in other countries that I think the transport infrastructure in particular is remarkably important in terms of how we move materials around, etc. I believe in the future we are undoubtedly going to have more and more modular construction, and that modular construction means that a lot of things will be fabricated in more factory controlled environments, but then have to be manoeuvred around our transport infrastructure. So I think that there's not, it's very difficult to look at one in relation. As Zara said, our industry touches everything. If we cannot move our goods and materials on a good infrastructure, then that's going to slow up the rate of innovation and progress in construction. So one of the things that we're doing present in Scotland is moving modular buildings around on our road network is extreme. We don't have the same benefits that out with Scotland in terms for most of my exported material. Yep. Okay.
Well played. So what's interesting, picking up the diffusion of innovation, is if you want more modular and off-site production, you've got to be able to get around the country. Pretty good point, well made there, Bill. Very good. Precursor.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that Bill made, and I think the one that's not really been considered, actually, we always talk about the people and how we move the people around. Actually, we don't think about the construction industry and how we move the products around. I don't think that's concentrated enough. But what I would say is I think we haven't really appreciated the value of regions. So we have the Northern Powerhouse, for example, and being a Midlander, for example, we've got two cities quite close by. From Birmingham, and that's Tamworth and Walsall. Over the years, we've improved the transport links to both Tamworth and Walsall, and actually both cities now can add as feeder cities to each other. And it's quite a fascinating proposal in the way that it's worked. But say if you look at somewhere like the southeast, it has real construction issues, and there's been promises about a new BML Brighton Main Line number 2. Now, actually, we don't have the regional strength, say, across the very southerly regions like your Southampton, your Portsmouth, your Brightons. They all become almost feeder cities for London and commuter towns, and actually unlocking that regional strength, and we're seeing it in, say, the Devon region, Cornwall, it's actually going to be quite vital. So there may be challenges, but I think a lot of this will be political challenges, because if you look just before the election, the incumbent government actually rejected a proposal to, say, increase the Brighton Main Line 2, whereas the Labour manifesto supported it. Now, whether you can argue the merits of either projects, because, for example, if you are building the Brighton Main Line 2, you need to expand Croydon, and that's going to be a hell of a expensive proposition. So we need to discuss those extra problems that we have, but that actually unearths another problem. And that's do we really know why we're building these infrastructure upgrades? Because if we are simply doing it to release the capacity for our commuting towns, we should be doing it to release the regional strengths. And obviously, being a Brummie, I recognise that with HS2, and HS2 will really unlock the Midlands, the London region for us, and hopefully the Northeast. But actually, when I was in the Northeast and Northwest discussing HS2, a lot of them said to me, well, no, the first project should be east to west. And that really shows you that what we need to do is improve our regional strengths. And I don't really believe that any government is getting together to make that an issue that they can all agree on. And that comes down to housing, schooling, renewable energy. Now, we work in rural communities, and you touched on energy earlier on. Actually, that's really, really vital. How do we start to encourage the use of renewable on-site energy so that our smaller rural communities can actually start to develop and tackle the big issues that we have in the utility sectors? Actually, I don't really feel any manifestos again. All government really have been trying to tackle those utility issues. And I know Scotland actually does a very good job at both renewable and modular. And actually, they're very innovative and they support innovation. I think that should be something that every English political party should be really, really aware of, because we have a lot of innovation, we have a lot of construction opportunities, but are we making the most of it? I don't think we are.
Okay.
I just Network Rail have set up a panel to review contestability within the rail sector, led by Peter Hansford. And I was lucky enough to sit on that panel, and we have just issued our report back to Network Rail, so hopefully it will get released over the next few weeks when they've had time to digest it. But that was all about how do we make our rail network more contestable, i.e. how can we get more third-party funding in for maybe not the bigger schemes, or schemes that actually from a government perspective don't do as much, but from a local economy and connectivity perspective actually add real local value, and how can we unlock that more? So it'll be interesting to see if that will help kickstart some of this local regional investment, because I agree with you too. And actually, as a country, we are too reliant on London and the suburbs. That needs to be pushed.
Absolutely.
North, Midlands and North. And as I now live in the Midlands, I would like to see a lot more going to the Midlands as well.
I would actually make the point that I think if you look at a classic case of North Wales is so isolated, yet so close to so many other regions. And Wales itself is quite fragmented because of it. So actually, understanding why investment is important and why it unlocks regional growth and opportunity. Yes, you may have to take a hit in the initial outlay, but that economic value in the long term for employment, for opportunities, for community growth. You know, we very rarely talk about the value of community growth. And having worked on very many voluntary projects, you start to see that if people are engaged in their community and feel a need to be part of their community, actually the whole area progresses, and that's economically, that's socially. So making sure that these places are linked up, like your North Wales, you know, a perfect example, I didn't realise that Southampton, which is, 40 odd miles away from Brighton, takes almost 2 hours to get to on the train. That makes no sense whatsoever. If you're on North Wales, if you want to get to the Midlands, from my grandma's just moved to Pwllheli actually, and I think it takes 4.5 hours to get to Birmingham. That's ludicrous on a train. So even longer if you want to go to South Wales. So actually, unlocking these regions. I'll be reading that report, and I'll be really interested to see what you say, because unless we understand the actual big issues, we can't then have the conversation about how to tackle them, and we're not even identifying the big issues yet.
Yeah, when you have housing, if we have better connectivity, it means that people can live and work in different areas, and we start to see that in the Midlands, where people are now choosing to live in Birmingham, not just because it's a great place and vibrant city, and commute to London. Because actually, it is doable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Could I now ask, you just touched upon it, the housing. What role does this extraordinarily hung Parliament have in continuing the investment within the housing sector? Rika, as in your position, National Federation of Builders, could you give us your perspective? What role does this hung Parliament, this government have in continuing the investment in housing?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what you mean by investment in housing, because from our perspective, there are two types of investment. There's the very obvious investment, you've got your shared ownership affordable homes programme, or the £140 million for estate regeneration, Help to Buy, and the home building fund, which is all great at delivering opportunities and finance and enabling. But actually, it's working with the planning authorities to get the planning permissions through. I'll give you an example. One of our members at the NFB, we did a quick survey over how quickly you can get these sites forward. And on average, for a site size of 36, it takes him 50 weeks to get the planning permissions through. Whereas if I looked at the statistics used by, I think it was the Labour Party, about Labour councils, all their planning permissions were being completed within the 13-week statutory period. So when we're talking about what can government and hung parliament do, the Housing White Paper tried to, it was at the very start, I'm not saying it's a complete answer, but it tried to depoliticise planning so that we can get planning permissions through. Now that might seem quite small, but actually if you're looking at the whole wider capacity issue, whether you're a self-builder, housing association, community land trust, anybody, cooperative housing, market homes as an SME, if you want to build homes, you need to be enabled to build those homes. Whereas if you're a volume developer, the risk element is a lot lower. So, it's fairly impressive to see what's happened in Scotland, especially with the support of the SMEs, but also in Northern Ireland, where we have had some of our members complement the way homes are, the opportunities are being delivered. It's not all volume house building, and that's good for the local economy, it's good for the local community. So actually recreating that entity or that opportunity in England and Wales. Actually, the Welsh manifesto is doing that quite well. It suggests some good ideas. That is key. If we can do that, that's just one tick. There are many more to come, but improving that capacity will start to unleash opportunities. So it's all very well having all these funds, but actually, what do you do with the funds? And a great example may be if we look back to the homes that London built while Labour were in government. Not enough homes have been built under the Conservatives, but actually under the Labour government in London, it was a lot of 1 and 2 bedroom small properties. And that's really, really impacted the market, because especially with conversions, we saw so many family houses turned into 1 and 2 beds. And that's impacted affordability across the whole region because it spikes the prices. So a lot of this is understanding what we're delivering and how we're delivering. It's not just as simple as saying, we will build this many homes and we will do this. Unless you're tackling the issues, the barriers to capacity, it's going to be extremely difficult to deliver any sort of improvements.
Okay, very good stuff. What do you say?
I very much agree with it. Even I have to say, sound points. I do think that speaking specifically for Scotland, I do think that to building houses provides quite a good example whereby if the industry a coherent, compelling message to government, as we had recently with the unacceptable delays in getting things through, the government was with a message that we need to get more planners, and at the end of the day, if we have to pay a little bit more to get planning, then that is the right thing to do. Our government listened and moved forward in that direction, and I think it is a good example of how our industry in construction has a greater opportunity to basically influence government policy on our industry to put that change that we're looking forward to in a compelling way to government. Looking at it in terms of the facility side of things, one of the impediments for building more houses is very much sometimes how quickly you can get the water there. So our minds have now changed to that, because the reality of the situation is we do need more housing choice there, because we have to look after the future generations of our country. We don't have enough houses we don't have houses, something that Rico touched upon, which I think other countries have grasped a little bit quicker than we have. So, I think there's a lot, this is where innovation can part. Innovation, not only in new products, but in processes, in the way of thinking about things. So I'm quite optimistic about it, I have to say. I think there are challenges. But numbers of new houses going up. The houses are greener. They are more carbon efficient. Less time, generally an awful lot better. And that is one of the reasons why our house builders in Scotland, but I think it's echoed through, that's maybe bucking the trend a little bit in overall construction. House building is quite a buoyant market just now because of opportunities that are there, and they've addressed those opportunities. And I think that's what we could copy a lot of that in wide construction, wide stream construction. Does that make sense?
Bill, I'm intrigued actually, because you did hit upon, as we would expect, your good self with your involvement with innovation, is that the housing market, with government help, could and should be more innovative. Now, Zara,
yes.
You're a big fan of business improvement, of innovation, and looking to the future. Any views yourself on, could the government actually have a greater impact on us being more innovative in that particular market, in the housing market?
I sigh, and I sigh because one of my biggest frustrations for years has always been the construction industry looking to government to drive us forward. And I keep saying, why? This is our industry. We have to grasp the nettle. Yes, there are things that government can do to help unlock potential, whether it's tax grants for innovation funding and things like that. But that should be open to everyone. It's not particular to the construction industry. There are, the government's done a lot with regards to the increasing the codes for homes, etc., that we have to achieve. So setting us targets, and as contractors, we're really good. Contractors, designers, etc. We're really good. If someone sets us a problem, we will achieve it. We will find ways of being able to rise to that challenge. I suppose my frustration is, why don't we just grasp the nettle and do it off our own bat? Because it's the right thing to do. I look at Laing O'Rourke and what they're doing, and the number of people who are really heavily investing in, if you like, Ray's put his money where his mouth is, and he is investing heavily in full-site fabrication, etc. And I think that's great to see. And as an industry, we should be, going back to our clients and saying, yeah, I know you're thinking about this, but what about this? The positives are, and it is a risk. I appreciate that. But as an industry, we need to step up to the plate and take the initiative and drive these through. Government can do a certain amount, but do you know what? It's our industry. We have to invest in it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Now let's go to another question. Before I ask this question, please do send in any questions you have. We've been broaching the subject of energy. We've been broaching the subject of our infrastructure. We've been looking actually at great discussion that Zara led on the way the industry still needs to sell itself to the young and not so young. So I think that people could actually come in as a career change. Still understood ourselves awfully. I remember some years ago, I was at one of the colleges, and it did frustrate them because mothers and fathers would want their children to go on the stage to come into the construction industry. This will keep clean. So it does lead to this question I would ask, is that now in the current environment we have that is not currently stable, that would be wrong to say it is, going through a bit of turbulence, what could construction companies do to actually thrive in this particular environment? What could construction companies do to thrive in the environment that has been thrown up in the last week or so. It's all right, Zara. What do you think? I mean, how could we actually, as an industry and companies, thrive in chaos, which has been written about for 20 years now?
I have to say, for me, in many respects, if I go back, oh, I was going to say 10 years, it's probably more like 15 years back to my days in the construction best practice program.
Yeah.
We were talking about, this precipice we were going to reach with regard to skills, and we were going to fall off the edge of the cliff. We were talking about uncertainty in the marketplace. We were, all these things about the low rate of return we get, our lack of investment in innovation. For me, we talk about uncertainty. That's business as usual in construction. What can we do better? There are simple things, actually things that don't cost an awful lot of money to be able to do, and that is better collaboration across our supply chain to get the best, most innovative, most efficient, most effective solutions for our clients. And that is within our gift to do now. And I suppose my frustration as someone who really, really believes in lean construction, collaborative planning, things like that. You know what? They are simple, they're effective, they're there, they work, and yet we want the shiny new widget gadgets, 3D headsets, etc., because they are whizzy. There are lots of things that actually, as we can help ourselves out and just get on and actually really engage and unlock the potential that's there now, waiting within our supply chain.
So basically, we've got an opportunity. We don't have a problem, we have an opportunity.
We have, definitely.
Good. Bill, not to the board, are you in agreement, sir? Is it that actually we should be really thriving on chaos? We do not have a problem, we have an excellent opportunity. Bill, what do you think, not to the board, sir?
I agree with a lot of what Zara is saying. I'm a very optimistic person, Elvin. I think construction is a world of opportunities, but is there a coherent and compelling plan to basically those opportunities into on-the-ground reality? It becomes quite difficult. I think that how you talk, Elvin, about a culture of chaos. The reality of the situation, in my view, is that the world is all sorts of things just now, and as I said earlier on, one can either embrace that uncertainty, or one can try to swim against the stream. Would get tired very, very quickly. So you have to embrace uncertainty. Now, one of the ways that you do, in my view, in Scotland, and I think it's relevant for the whole of the UK, is that we have to make sure we are communicating a plan. Plan has to be one, understanding that our customers, our clients, understand the value construction provides. We have a saying in Scotland that everyone knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And it's very focused on the cost side of things. And I understand that, but the reality is one has to be competitive, but we must, as a construction industry, help and communicate to people that understanding the value that construction brings is vitally important. To communicate to our young people that the construction industry is a place for the future, not a place for the past. We have a lot of scope for improving how we actually do that. We need to make construction, the industry, more compelling for our young people. We need to make it an industry where they have aspirations to come into construction, because it is an industry where if you're prepared to work hard remarkably well, and a lot of industries don't do that as well. Now, if we do not have a plan, as we've had from reaching from the skies, from the Egan report, from the Latham report, we will have lots of vision execution. It's executing things to make that vision into reality. And the only way we can do that is by coherent and comparative of, and the challenge that we have to overcome is our industry is too fragmented.
Right. Yeah, can we just have an industry is too fragmented? Is that what you said, Bill?
Yes, that's yeah. Have the last time I looked for the UK, we have something like 310 different organisations presenting some element of construction. 310 different organisations.
310?
Yep.
That's diversity.
We have 150. We have 130. So how can 131 different voices come together in a melodious way that government can understand what we're saying?
Good stuff, like that. Rico, sir.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, they could all join the NFB and then we'll all speak into one voice. Sorry. No, but I think that actually, in some ways, the voices are negative. But what I've really tried to do is try and pull as many voices as I can together, because actually, from our point of view, is I've been working with, say, to pick up on Zora's point, if you look at how we instantly make changes, well, we've been encouraging members to work with neighbourhood planners so that we can get small sites in neighbourhood plans, because we see that as a good way to get our members on the ground who used to work in a developer-led system back within that process, because at the moment it's very local authority-led. So there's things that we can absolutely do. But government needs to recognise that industry is pretty damn good at this. If we look at something like species licensing, which is district licensing for the Great Crested Newt, which is a trial that started by Natural England. So basically what that means is developers spend 12 months trying to shift newts off their sites or mitigate the problem. This new licence, set up by industry and by Natural England, allows people to mitigate that for conservation. Now, it's industry-led. So when we look at things like this, when we look at biodiversity, we can work as a unit, as a collaborative group, to understand how we can deliver best case scenarios. And that's whether that's conserving a green belt so you can build more houses on the sites that you thought perhaps we weren't going to be able to build on. Creating that strategic process is really important. But going on to Bill's point, actually, if we look at something like manufacturing, we look at what happened to manufacturing between 96 and 2007, especially in the Midlands. I'm a Brummy, so this is really, really pertinent to me. We lost LDV and we lost Rover. What do we do with all those fantastic people that were within the industry? Well, I'll tell you what we did with them, because I helped them get jobs. We let them go. And I helped many of these people work in the NHS, because I was working for Queen Elizabeth Hospital at the time. And we were helping people with transferable skills move across the industries. A lot of it was life experience, because they might have cared for people and so they were able to. But actually, in a way, we were saving careers. But what happened 5 years later? A lot of these companies started to come back and they needed mechanical engineers, but did they have any? No, because we were full of electrical engineers, the ones that we were really concentrating on through university. So we lost all these old skilled people. It's a real danger that this happens again in the industry. I'm reading something like the Farmer Report, which is about prefabs and modernising the way we build homes, and a lot of it does chime fantastically. But what we don't want to do is de-skill a workforce, because actually we reduce the amount of jobs and the opportunities and even the transferable skills. But what was nice about the Farmer Report is it concentrated on SMEs, and it said, look, how do we deliver more workshops so that SMEs can actually deliver these things locally as part of a wider project? And I think Zari mentioned Laing O'Rourke. Well, I was a little bit concerned about the Laing O'Rourke project, because it was a lot of money that went into Laing O'Rourke. And if you look at the supply chain to support SMEs, they were big companies or they were foreign companies. So are they really supporting SMEs? And that's a giant amount of funding that's gone to support the house building industry. Some people might have argued, why couldn't you put £22.1 million into planners? Because that would have delivered the homes instantly in a problem that we all know exists. That's not to say we shouldn't support the innovation. We absolutely should. but prioritising how we spend it and why we spend it, going back to the old flat scenario in London, what we actually do with the money, what we do with our power, how we enable, is so vital. And that's often ignored just for the desire of, we've got this funding and we'll solve this problem. But it's not policy in theory, it's policy in practice.
Very good.
A couple of points that we'll just pick up there. With regards to this, I was at an event recently in the Midlands where I was talking to someone from Birmingham City Council about their housing planning projects and schemes that they actually self-deliver as a council. And one of the things that really struck me was this lady was talking about how they have found that by taking a house in an area and converting it or changing it, etc., has very little impact. However, if they manage to take a group of houses and actually redesign, remodel, etc., how socially they can improve and bring the standard of that whole area up. And I think, again, that's something that councils and government have to think more about what we do. The other point I really wanted to pick up on was what Bill was talking about. And that is about if through this uncertainty and this skills shortage and this innovation, etc., do you know what? We end up paying our engineers, rewarding them more for their qualification, for respecting and paying tradesmen more. And if that cost pushes the cost of construction up, actually, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, because it will show that we actually value the contribution that construction and construction professionals give to society.
Excellent point there. But really, and I would thoroughly advocate what you said there, is that I know that we need to reduce the cost, but it's also the reward.
Yes.
We need to consider. Excellent. Can I just round it up, good people? So, one quick question. Bill, we're going to start here, my friend, and we're going from Bill to Rico, then we'll be coming in to Zara to land the plane. If you could, good people, just thinking about what we've talked about this morning. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in, and secondly to my other panel. Thank you all for being here. So we're going with Bill, Rico, Zara. All the things that we've discussed, you get to go in to see Theresa May, and eventually when she's formed her government, and you get the first 5 minutes in there. What is it after we've of all the things we spoke about today, you would want to sell up the most? Of all the things I want you to do, we spoke about lots of things this morning. You said, right, all this you've got, please go and sell this. Theresa, come on, girl, get this right. Can you do this bit for us? Bill, what did you say, my friend? One thing you would like Theresa May to do from all the things we talked about this morning, you're going to do one thing, what would it be?
Quite a hard one to you left a hard one to Elvin. What is the one thing I would ask her to do? The reality is, I would ask her to give opportunity and give her a plan for construction. I would ask her to I don't want to use the word of commission. I would ask her to set up something with construction where we brought in external advisors, universities, to help mould our construction industry, not for a year's time or 2 years' time, but to mould a year's time, to recognise the excellent reports that have carried out in the past, but if we're only executed into the industry that we wanted them to come into. I think that opportunity is still there. An excellent opportunity to have a whereby construction is put in a situation this we should drive her in, because in my belief, dealing with government, my belief will listen more often than it will not listen, as long as the message that comes is compelling. I think if we come across with a strong message, we'll listen. Zara mentioned at the start of represents an enormous part of the UK's gross value added. It is something like 12% of the gross value added. It is responsible for over 12% of people employed in construction. Government will listen, but it's down to send a compelling message that government can then act on. So I kind of turned it around a little bit, Elvin, but that would be my take on it. We must take control of our own destiny, recognise the opportunity, and then work with government.
Yeah, I think what you said,
that opportunity through.
And also what I've heard Rico say is that we've been doing this a long time now. Actually, we'd like to be more empowered. Let me fair, one of the things like around that, we would like to be more empowered as an industry to go on with things.
My own view, when I think quite empowered, I just don't think that collectively we grasp that power that we. That's our big opportunity. Collectively, as an industry,
thank you very much indeed, Rico.
I think if I had a few minutes, I'd bring in a big flow chart and I'd show her exactly what construction does and how valuable it is. Zara made a really good point. Pay people more in construction. I'll put one cat amongst the pigeons there. If housing was more affordable, then those wages would go further. So actually, there are many more challenges simply to just solving the construction. You know, that's what I really appreciate in my role. Yes, of course, I'm looking after my members. Of course, I'm trying to get policies working. Of course, I want to win them more work. But if we have a better functioning society, because we have a better construction process, they will win the work anyway. You know, when I think about SMEs, when we built the most amount of homes in the UK, it was small and medium-sized companies that built the homes. 85% of the homes, it was we built for everybody. You know, we've got guys that just do key worker housing. We've got guys that just do housing association. We've got that just do market homes, just affordable homes. You know, anything it is, that's the point of business models. And what a part of that flow diagram is to show her the value of employment to your local community. One tiny example. A fifth of SMEs are small and medium companies are employed in construction. That's 60% of private industry is an SME. So a fifth of those 60% are in construction. That's so valuable, and it's so valuable rurally, it's so valuable in our cities, in the supply chain. And I think that the government could really grasp the value of construction at every level. It's the first thing Zara said, and it's a fantastic point. If they could understand that and take the principles abroad, how they've worked in different countries, and adopt them better to our own principles, I think that is the best way that government can look at it and go, do you know what? We've been looking at construction and the industry in the completely wrong light. And if only we're able to understand the intrinsic value and the knock-on value of construction to communities, to employment, to our country, to you know, national relations, international relations, export, import, all of this, we will start to tackle the real barriers to economic and social strength that construction can bring to us.
Absolutely. Build down the barrier. It's understood construction, but we build down the barrier.
Yeah.
Superb. So
I think my point is very quick, very succinct, because it follows on from what Rico was saying. I would go in and help Teresa understand how construction can solve her housing, economic and social problems that she has.
it can be done.
It
Can be done. Well, that's it. Can I thank you, Bill? Can we thank you for your participation, my friend?
No, thank you very much indeed. Very enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bill. Up there in the body Scotland. Rico, sir, in sunny Gatwick. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Very interesting.
Excellent. Well, Zara, thank you as always. Always. So, forthright and informative. And thank you very much for sticking up the industry. And we expect to see far more people coming in through the doors and wanting to join tomorrow. Well played. That's the plan. And thank you everybody who's viewed in. Please be our guest and send in any requests you've got. And we thank you very much for your time. And from me, Elvin Box on the bass, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.